What if I gave you, I don't know, say 1,000 extra hours? What would you do with them? Would you finally build that website for the business idea that you've been putting off? Or maybe you want to learn, I don't know, say French for the European trips that you've been talking about for so many years. Or you want to pick up skills to start that home renovation that you keep saying that you'll get to. Now, what if I told you that you already have these 1,000 hours and that you just haven't been using them? So a couple of years ago, I didn't think much of how I spent my evenings. I'd finish work, make dinner, sit down for a break, and before I knew it, it was already 10 p.m. and the entire night was gone. But when I did the math, I realized I was losing around 5 hours every night. And if you were to say multiply all of this out, that would be around 25 hours a week and close to 1,000 hours a year. Once I saw all of these numbers in front of me, I knew that something had to change. I wanted to start my own business, build my home gym, and figure out how to launch a YouTube channel. But seriously, I knew that none of this was going to happen if I kept spending my evenings the way I was. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 7 changes that I personally made to stop wasting my evenings and start using them to actually build the things I care about. If you're new here, hi, my name's Steve. I'm a former middle school teacher who uses evenings to build a company and design a life around work I really care about. So yeah, let's get into it. Thing 1, define wins and review. For so many years, I approached my evenings with no real intention. My goals were pretty vague. They were just like, I don't know, like relax or get stuff done. But without a specific target, it was incredibly easy to default to passive entertainment, just to sit down on the couch and watch Netflix, just letting the evening blow with the wind. Now I know planning may seem like a time waster rather than a time saver, but there's a quote by Brian Tracy that I often think about that goes, "Every minute you spend in planning saves 10 minutes in execution." And yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to achieve in the evenings. We want to use our time better. And now, hold on, I'm not suggesting that you spend hours setting up graphs and drawing up extensive to-do lists every evening because yeah, that would be overkill. But I would say just, I don't know, around once a week, usually on Sundays, I take a notebook and just write down everything that I like to get done in the evenings. And when I would write on this page, I would divide it into 3 categories. First are fundamentals, which include my daily chores, my administrative tasks, and general life maintenance. Second would be fun, which is of course very important, which represents my social life, like my hobbies and activities that bring me joy and happiness. The third is my future, which includes investing in myself, learning new skills, building a side business, or actively working on my long-term aspirations. I then write down everything that pops into my head for each category. For me, I feel like this shouldn't take more than 15 minutes, and if you did it the week before, you can even carry over items that you didn't get around to. For example, my list this week includes walking my dog Domino, working out in the gym, and then talking to my investing community. Then when the week starts and my workday is coming to a close, I look at my fundamentals, my fun, and my future lists and see which items that I like to do that day. There are days where I feel like, hey, I have a lot of energy and I choose to do several items, while other times maybe I might feel a little tired, I'll just do a couple less. So today I challenge you to do one specific thing that if you were to complete it, it would make your evening feel super successful. Sometimes it can be as simple, and I'm not even kidding with this, just reading one chapter of an inspiring book, or making that call to a friend that you've been meaning to catch up with, or dedicating 30 minutes to developing a strategy for a side project. At the end of each week, usually the following Sunday, I take a moment to reflect on my progress so that I can understand what works best for me and I can celebrate my wins. When you do this, ask yourself, did I stick to my podcast goals this week? Did I avoid the late night social media scroll? Those are significant wins that deserve acknowledgement. So yeah, take just 10 minutes before your next planning session for a brain dump journal entry to clear your head, reflect on what went well and what you learned. Overall, I feel like you just need 20 minutes of planning and reflection each week to keep yourself on the right track and make sure that the 25 hours you have in the evenings will truly be put to good use. Now, once you've done your planning, the next step is to think about how you'll actually spend your evening. For me, I break it down into 3 simple parts. First is to reboot, second is to take action, and third is to rest. Let's start with reboot. This is all about dealing with that post-work slump. It's basically that feeling when you finish the day and you crash onto the couch and you're, too tired to do anything else. For a really long time, I thought that I was just completely exhausted or suffering from burnout. But after some trial and error, I realized that I wasn't actually drained, I was just sluggish. What I learned is that your brain, after a full day of all this decision making, problem solving, and screen time, it needs a reset. If you skip this part and try to jump straight into something productive, productive, you're probably going to procrastinate or start resenting your evening goals altogether. Thing 2 is to move, and one of the most effective ways to reboot is to just move around your body. Like a lot of people, I work at a desk. By 5 p.m. or 6 p.m.-ish, my body feels like it's been stuck in low power mode all day. My back kind of hurts, my joints are pretty stiff, and then my eyes are so tired staring at the screen and having all these lights shining at me. You'll hear a lot of these strange brain hacks online, like stimulating your pituitary gland by pressing your thumb for 30 seconds. And while that might sound quick and easy, I found that real movement is by far the most effective. I know the last thing you might want to do after a long day is exercise, but gentle movement is often exactly what your body needs to shift gears and reset your energy. And really, it doesn't need to be all that complicated. It could just be a 20-minute walk around the block, maybe even a quick swim or a gym session or a 5-minute mobility video on YouTube. Or maybe it's like what I used to do with my 6th graders, where I would just turn on music and we would just kind of hop around to our favorite songs. I really believe that any movement is good, even small bursts of movement like 10 squats or 10 push-ups while the kettle is boiling. That can really help reduce your stress and give you a noticeable lift in energy. You can think of it less like a workout and more like a transition ritual, a way to move out of your work mode and into your evening with more energy and focus. Thing 3 is to eat and just get some general overall nutrition. I know this might sound kind of obvious, but what often throws us off isn't eating, it's what we eat. Of course, I love going down to LA, grabbing a good taco or maybe a slice of pepperoni pizza as much as anyone, but I've learned that when I rely on junk food in the evenings, I'm just slowing my body down. I feel like trying to power your brain with highly processed food is like trying to run a lawnmower on milk. It just doesn't work and you end up feeling bloated, sluggish, and even mentally foggy. So for me, things changed when I started doing a lot of this basic meal prep on the weekends, where I cut back on processed foods and I made sure that I was eating more whole foods or even these nutrient-dense meals. And really just paying attention to the labels made a big difference. Once I started seeing exactly what I was putting into my body and more importantly, what I wasn't, it encouraged me to start making different choices. If you're used to Uber Eats, takeouts, or convenience meals, this doesn't have to be some sort of overnight shift. All you really want to do is just take some baby steps. You can start with 1 or 2 healthy meals during the week and see how it affects your energy. And I have a strong feeling that you're going to be surprised by how much clearer and more focused you feel just from eating better in the evenings. Thing 4 is your environment, because your environment has a massive influence on how your evenings unfold. It's so easy to fall into old, unproductive habits when your surroundings are set up to trigger them. If your phone is always nearby, or maybe Netflix is set to autoplay, or if your gaming console is already on, they're all invitations waiting to be accepted by you. And once you give in, it's rarely just one more reel or one more video or just one more game. A lot of what we get stuck at night comes down to dopamine, or the chemical that your brain uses to keep you motivated. Back in the day, a long time ago, it helped us find food and shelter. Well, nowadays it gets hijacked by things like scrolling social media, watching videos on TikTok, chasing small wins in mobile games, checking notifications, or even refreshing your email just one more time. These small hits of dopamine feel good in the moment, but they leave you mentally drained and physically wired, and the night can quickly disappear before you've done anything that you've actually cared about. And for me, I feel like evenings are also when you're most vulnerable to all of this. I feel like you're already tired, your willpower is low, and it's easy to fall into whatever's right in front of you. So for me, that's why I started setting hard rules and adjusting my space to match the life that I actually wanted. Now my phone goes on airplane mode by 7 or 8 p.m. and I turn off Slack, which is the messaging app that I use for my team members. And if I put on Netflix or YouTube, I usually like to choose like a fireplace or a forest scene, kind of like what you see there, just playing in the background. And if I use Spotify, I'll usually play some sort of lo-fi playlist or some sort of peaceful meditation playlist. I really believe that small shifts like these make a huge difference, and that the more you remove temptations from your environment, the less self-control you need to stay on track. Now, before I go on, I want to talk about investing. And it's not just investing your time, but investing your money for your future. If the idea of investing feels overwhelming, I get it. That's exactly why I created my free beginner's investing class. In under an hour, you're going to learn what accounts to open, what to invest in, and how to get started as a complete beginner. It's kind of crazy to say this, but more than 50,000 people have already signed up for it, and you can sign up for it using the link in the description. Now that you rebooted your body with movement and good food, and your environment is set up to support focus, it's time to take action. This is where you start making progress on your evening goals, and these are 3 strategies that have helped me get the most out of this time. For thing 5, I know this sounds silly, but you want to eat the frog. So I used to find that my weekday evenings got taken over by random life admin, those low effort, low reward tasks that still demand your attention. So instead of spreading them out and letting them interrupt every evening, I now do them in bulk, all at once early in the week. This is what's known as the eat the frog technique. It actually comes from a Mark Twain quote, which says, "If it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first." So in other words, it's such a disgusting thought, and if you have no other choice, the best approach is to just get it done immediately. So for me, this means that Monday evenings are dedicated to my fundamentals, such as cleaning my home or catching up on budgeting or booking appointments and replying to messages, anything I know I'll otherwise avoid until it piles up. And yeah, it can be kind of a long evening, but it clears my head and frees up the rest of the week. I'm not going to be constantly thinking about, oh, I still need to do that thing or the other thing every single night. And the same approach goes with meal prepping. If I spend just 2 or 3 hours one evening prepping meals, I have 6 or more hours across the entire week. Every bit of time and energy you reclaim from these kind of tasks is time you can redirect towards something creative, something that builds your future, or even just something that brings you joy. Thing 6 is to stack activities. Another way to reclaim your evenings is by making better use of what's known as dead time. You can take the first hour after work, which is often lost in traffic or spent sitting on a bus or a train, and while you may not be able to, focus work in that time, you also don't have to let it go to waste. So there are a lot of these boring, monotonous tasks like driving or commuting or walking, which can all be paired by a low effort mental activity. Something you can do is, put on a podcast or listen to an audiobook, or even call a friend or a family member that you've been meaning to catch up with. For me, whenever I walk Domino, this time is for me to catch up on learning about business or process ideas or even outline future content. And yeah, I know it's not productive in the intense sense, but it keeps my mind engaged and helps me make progress in my life. And I really believe that you can apply this strategy to other areas in your life too. So you can say that you're, working out at the gym, or you're sweeping or vacuuming the floors, or maybe you're walking your dog, and yeah, your body is busy, but your brain isn't. Something you can do is, maybe invite a friend to join you so you're getting movement and social connection at once. Or maybe you're like my other friend who likes to learn different languages, and you can listen to a language app while you stretch or you clean your house. Or maybe you can even review your day or plan for tomorrow while you're cooking dinner. The main goal here is to combine tasks that don't compete for the same kind of focus. So trying to read an article while listening to an audiobook or listening to a podcast isn't going to work unless, you're some sort of genius or something. Your brain is going to be pulled in 2 different directions, and neither task will get your full attention. But pairing a physical task with a light mental one, that's exactly what you're trying to aim for. Thing 7 is the 85% rule, where you're working on your evening goals, but you actually don't need to push yourself to operate at, say, 110%. This is your second productivity window for the day, and it's meant to serve you. It's not about proving anything to your manager or keeping up with anyone else. This is your personal time, and it should feel rewarding, not punishing. Maybe you're reading a topic that fascinates you. Maybe you're watching a course that you've always wanted to take, or spend quality time with the people you're closest with. Whatever it is, it's something that you've chosen to invest in, and that's why I follow this 85% rule in the evenings. It means that I move forward at a steady pace, but I don't push myself to the edge. I give myself enough effort to make progress, but not so much that it completely drains me. For me, I feel like this simple mindset shift has made a big difference. It keeps me consistent, helps me avoid burnout, and most importantly, it allows me to actually enjoy my evenings. If you feel like, this idea feels a little soft, well, try it out yourself. Let's say you're reading a book and you feel the urge to force your way through the entire chapter before bed. Instead of pushing through just to finish, stop at a point that feels right, even if it's just, 85% of the chapter. Remember, you're still moving forward and you're still going to finish the book, but you'll do it without turning reading into a chore or finding yourself dreading the next chapter. All in all, remember, this time is for you and no one else. Now, once you've rebooted and taken action, it's probably around 9 or 10 p.m. and you've been active all day long. And really, you should give yourself a pat on the back because that's definitely something to be proud of. But even with a full and productive evening, it's still important to leave space for rest and recovery. Like seriously, you can work all day as long as you give yourself an hour or so in the evening to unwind and settle. And I really believe that this quiet time matters more than most people think. For me, I remember where I used to fill up every waking minutes. I was teaching classes, grading papers, lesson planning, building my business, writing YouTube scripts. The list just never ended. And back then, I had this hustler mindset where I believed that the only way to move forward was to push through with sheer willpower. And yeah, in some ways, I'm very grateful that I went through this phase and it taught me a lot of discipline. But what I didn't understand at the time was that rest was part of the work. It's not a reward or a luxury, but a necessary part of being able to do it all over again tomorrow. I really believe that all of our brains need time to process the entire day. Your nervous system needs a chance to slow down. Your body needs permission to stop striving. I used to feel so guilty whenever I wasn't super productive right up until bedtime. But over time, I learned that you get far more done in the long run if you build recovery into your daily plan. So what does this rest look like? Well, it looks different for everyone. If some light screen time helps you wind down, then that's cool. That's perfectly fine. What matters is that it actually helps you relax, not that it fits some perfect evening routine. And for me, like what I said before, it's usually a meditation playlist that I play on Spotify, some casual journaling, or rewatching some old episodes of The Office. The only rule that I follow is that if it makes you feel more wired or more distracted, I would swap it out. The goal here is to feel calm, clear, and ready for bed. And by the end of your rest time, you should feel like you had a good evening, not just a productive one. And look guys, if you want to start investing and you're tired of Googling how to invest, I'm telling you, my beginner investing class is the answer. I'm going to go over what accounts to open up, how much to invest based on your age and your goals, and what to invest in that helped me become a millionaire myself. If you want to join, I'll leave the link here or down below, and I hope to see you in class.